Hello everyone. In today's video is a continuation of the last video of the book that will change the way you view reality. Chapter 2. The discovery that changed how we see reality. If chapter 1 asks the question, why do we keep repeating the same pattern? Then this chapter asks an even deeper question. Who is creating the life that we experience every day? For thousands of years, people believed that life happened to them. Good fortune was gift from heaven. Misfortune was bad luck. Success belonged to the fortunate. Failure belonged to the unfortunate. The world seemed unpredictable, and human beings appear to have very little control over their destiny. Yet, throughout history, great thinkers began to notice something remarkable. Two people could experience the same event, yet their lives would unfold in completely different directions. One person would grow stronger through hardship, another would become bitter. One would lose everything and begin again with hope. Another would lose much less and spend the rest of the life filled with resentment. The question slowly emerged. Perhaps reality is not only what happens to us. Perhaps reality is also shaped by the meaning we give to what happens. This simple idea changed psychology forever. It did not suggest that we can control everything that happens in life. Storms still come, illness still visits, loved ones still leave us, economies rise and fall. Tragedy is part of being human. But between what happens and how we respond lies something extraordinary: our consciousness, our awareness, our ability to choose our response. This invisible space is where freedom begins. Many years ago, the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung devoted his life to studying the hidden workings of the human mind. He believed that much of our behavior is directed not by conscious choice, but by the unconscious patterns we carry within us. He once wrote, quote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." End quote. Think about those words for a moment. How many people say, "I always attract the wrong people. I have been unlucky. I have been lucky. This always happened to me. It must be my fate." Perhaps it is not fate at all. Perhaps there is an unseen pattern quietly repeating itself. Jung was not blaming people for their suffering. Instead, he was offering hope. If unconscious patterns can shape our lives, then bringing those patterns into awareness gives us the opportunity to change them. This idea was revolutionary. Around the same time, another remarkable thinker, the American philosopher and psychologist William James, made an observation that continues to influence psychology today. He suggested that one of the greatest discoveries of his generation was that human beings can change their lives by changing their attitudes of mind. Notice what he did not say. He did not promise that changing your thoughts would eliminate every difficulty. He did not claim that positive thinking alone would solve every problem. Rather, he recognized that our interpretation of life influences the decisions we make, the opportunities we notice, and the resilience we develop. The outer world remains the same, but the person experiencing it becomes different. Later, another extraordinary man offered living proof of this principle. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist, survived one of history's darkest chapters. While imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, nearly everything was taken from him: his family, his profession, his freedom, even his name. Yet amid unimaginable suffering, he observed something that forever changed his understanding of human nature. Some prisoners surrendered to despair. Others shared their last piece of bread. Some lost hope. Others comforted those around them. The circumstances were nearly identical. The responses were profoundly different. Frank concluded that while much can be taken from a person, one freedom remains: the freedom to choose one's attitude and response. This does not mean suffering is easy, nor does it suggest that we should ignore pain. It means that our deepest strength does not come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering ourselves. Modern neuroscience have begun to support many of these observations. Scientists now know that the brain is not fixed from birth. It changes throughout life. Every repeated thought strengthens certain neural pathways. Every repeated habit becomes easier to perform. Every repeated emotional reaction gradually becomes automatic. Imagine walking across an open field. The first journey leaves only faint trace. Walk the same path every day, and soon visible trail appears. Eventually the trail becomes so familiar that you naturally follow it without thinking. Our minds work much the same way. Repeated worry creates a well-worn path of anxiety. Repeated gratitude strengthens appreciation. Repeated kindness nurtures compassion. Repeated anger makes anger easier to choose. Fortunately, the opposite is also true. New paths can be created. Old paths can slowly fade when they are no longer used. This is why meaningful change requires patience. You are not merely changing behavior, you are reshaping the pathways through which your mind naturally travels. Perhaps this explains why lasting transformation rarely feels dramatic. It is often quiet, almost invisible. A person who chooses forgiveness each day may not notice the change immediately. Months later, they discover their heart has become lighter. A person who saves a small amount of money every week may feel little difference at first. Years later, financial security quietly appears. A person who spends 10 minutes reading thoughtful books each evening may seem unchanged. A decade later, their wisdom has grown beyond measure. Life rarely changes because of one giant decision. It changes because small decisions slowly become character. Character becomes destiny. One of the greatest misunderstandings in modern culture is the belief that success begins with action. Action is important, but action is not the beginning. Every action begins with the thought. Every thought grows from the belief. Every belief contributes to an identity. An identity quietly shapes nearly everything we do. If I believe I am incapable, I will hesitate. If I believe I am a victim, I will notice every injustice. If I believe life is abundant, I will look for opportunities instead of obstacles. The belief comes first, the action follows. This is why changing external circumstances alone often produces temporary results. A person may receive unexpected wealth, but still think like someone trapped in scarcity. Soon enough, old habits return, money disappears, relationships deteriorate, peace remains elusive. Nothing changed because the person remained the same. There is an old proverb that says, wherever you go, there you are. You cannot escape yourself. You cannot travel across oceans, move into the larger home, begin with a different career, surround yourself with new friends, but until you understand the patterns within your own heart, you might simply recreate the same life in a different location. The encouraging truth is the awareness changes everything. The moment you begin observing your thoughts instead of automatically believing them, something remarkable happens. You discover that you are more than your fears, more than your past, more than your habits, more than the labels others have placed upon you. You become the observer, and once you become the observer, you are no longer completely controlled by what you observe. This is where genuine freedom begins, not in changing the world overnight, not in wishing for a different life, but seeing yourself with honesty, humility, and compassion. For every lasting transformation begins long before the world notices. It begins quietly within the mind. It grows steadily within the heart. And over time, almost as naturally as seed becomes a tree, the invisible life within begins to reshape the visible life without. This is the true power of consciousness. Not that it changes reality by magic, but that it changes the person who lives within that reality. And when the person changes, their choices change, habits change. And when habits change, the direction of life changes. That is where real transformation begins, not in the world outside us, but in the quiet awakening of the world within. Thank you so much, and I hope you digest on this and look forward to the next video for the continuation. Thank you.